Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Where to Start. It's a great video series that I feel like we do, makes my brain really think, and it's just all about picking out 4 spots to start on the lakes that you guys have sent in their comments each month. And a great thing about this video series, we always give a battery away. Optima has sponsored this channel for a long, long time. You as a viewer, just for leaving a comment, have an opportunity to win an Optima Blue Top AGM battery, and we will give one away at the end of this video. We just randomly go down through there, we pick a winner, and we get you a battery certificate off in the mail. So let's get to the lakes that we're going to break down. You know, we're going to break down Melton Hill in Tennessee. We're going to break down Buchanan in Texas. We're going to break down Bull Shoals. These are all lakes from the previous month that you guys had left in the comments. We just randomly go down through there. I picked 3 of them, and a special thing this month with you guys sending in Melton Hill, I got a buddy that lives right there. We're going to call him. We're going to learn a little bit about that lake. It's kind of like my pinch hitter, you know. I happen to leaving to go to his house tomorrow. We got a tournament out there, so we're going to all convene at his house before we go to the tournament. But none other than Ott DeFoe, and he's got a great YouTube channel. He's also got a great devotion channel, him and his wife. Just love the man. He's a great individual, great family man, and a great friend. So none other. We're going to call him, and we're going to say, hey, man, tell us about this Melton Hill Lake. So let's get to it. Let's get him on the phone, and let's break these lakes down.
Hello, Ed.
Ott, what are you doing?
Just fiddling around this boat.
Oh, yeah. Cool, cool. Hey, man, we're doing a Where to Start. It's a series on YouTube, and we just try to give 2 or 3 spots where to start. And I had a viewer send in Center Hill Lake, and I thought, man, you are the best. You're in that area. Tell us a little bit about Center Hill Lake, if you can.
So Center Hill, not Melton Hill, right?
Or no, Melton Hill. Yep, you're right, Melton Hill.
Okay, there's multiple hills in Tennessee.
There is. It's a really hill. You guys do not have a straight road. I'm double checking to make sure this is the lake I zoomed in on.
Okay.
So is there a Center Hill too?
There's Center Hill too. Melton Hill is pretty close to Knoxville. Center Hill is closer to Cookville. So.
No, it's Melton Hill.
Melton Hill. Okay, yeah. So that's I do have more experience on Melton Hill. Melton Hill is a unique fishery, in my opinion. Think of we talked a little bit earlier. Think of Taneycomo. Okay, that's the best place that out in your neck of the woods that I could compare it to would be a Taneycomo type fishery. Both of those lakes, Melton Hill, Taneycomo, come out from the bottom of a deep lake, a big deep reservoir up above them. So they both have cold water year round. You know, February or August, coming into Taneycomo is 52 degrees or 55 degrees. Same deal with Melton Hill. Norris Dam, it's super deep, cold water. So, you know, it makes for a unique fishery. It's one of those kind of places where when they release a significant amount of water for any amount of time, it can drastically change the water temperature in the main part of that lake. So you see that once you start getting into early summer, midsummer, that type of stuff. It's kind of traditional up until that point because the water doesn't move fast enough. It does its thing. It warms up. It's pretty traditional. But once you get into midsummer, late summer, it's odd. I don't know any other way to say it. The water temperature might be 65 degrees on the main channel, in the summertime. So fall fishing on a place like that and around here in East Tennessee, top water is my number one thing to think of. It can be one of those kind of deals where you're probably going to find them in one of 2 deals. If they're relating to the main river and the current or anything that's going on, that's going to be where it's at. If not, it's going to be away from the current, and it probably has something to do with the water temperature one way or the other. Okay. And then where it's got the bait fish, that's the deal. So you're obviously your first key indicator, be looking for that bait, finding where that bait is that time of year, and that's going to tell you, hey, I need to be on the main lake or I need to be off of it.
Looking at that lake, there's a couple big inside bends with flats about the middle of the lake. Would that be a good area to start looking for some of that stuff? And then I noticed that there's a bridge just down from the split too, with some flats off that bridge.
those are good areas. Yeah, that area I think where you're talking about down the lake where there's like 3 or 4 islands, kind of in a big bend. Traditionally, that's always been a good area, kind of exactly what you said. And it's funny because you've never been there, but that's the area that's got the most flats, above that and below that. Above it, there's some. Below it, it's basically a river. It's 2 banks, not much else going on. But that area, there's a big cove there, and they always refer to that as Reactor Holler. So that's where nuclear reactor, that's real close to Oak Ridge where they built the atomic bomb and all that stuff.
Oh, really? That's
cool. There at Melton Hill. So there's all kinds of crazy stories from back in my club fishing days of what guys said they saw on the banks there. But yeah, that area down in there traditionally has the most grass. At one point in time, that lake had a lot of grass, and it had no grass, and now I think again it has some grass. But given the amount of flats, that area's got some grass. A buzz bait, a frog, that type of stuff, walking baits out on the edge of it, and that part of the lake would be a great place to start.
All right. Well, we're going to break it down. Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
All right. See you tomorrow.
Yep. See you, Eddie.
Bye. All right, there it is from none other than the man, Ott DeFoe. That's interesting that, it just has that much water going through it. It's that cold. And when he says Taneycomo, I understand Taneycomo. I've been there. That's not far from us. It's kind of close to another lake that we're going to break down in this video series. So when we look at it on the sea map, man, it's amongst a lot of great lakes over there in Tennessee. But what shines to me, like you've got 2 rivers that come in, this is the one that's coming out of Norris, no spawning habitat for miles, just riverbank, 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 and then boom. And then all of a sudden you start getting some flats. And while we always talk about flats, Ott mentioned it, you got to have spawning habitat. You just can't have vertical banks, real steep banks. You got to have pea gravel banks, pockets, coves, out of the current, or just not always out of direct current, or maybe more consistent water temperature. You have to have those things for fish to spawn and to thrive. So, we've got to get down the lake. So we just eliminated all that river portion. And then when you take it a step further and you look at the bottom portion of the lake, same thing, really steep, not much spawning habitat. You can just see this whole section here, guys. Look at that. I don't know how many miles that is, but there's not much. But then you get right here. Look at this big inside bend, this big inside bend. You got some islands. You got these lighter blues here on my sea map. That's going to be spawning habitat, and I've got a section here, I'm going to say from right here to right here, I'm guessing that's 20 miles. I could be way off. I can figure it out real quick. We're not going to take the time. But that's what you're going to look for. And let's get over here on Google Earth, and let's just check it out over here once we get there. So zooming in here on the upper end of this lake, we got a bridge. This is what I'm talking about, these pockets. That's going to be spawning habitat. That's going to be out of the current, coming down the lake, more spawning habitat. Man, I got a cloudy picture. Let's see if we can get those clouds off of there. There we go. Just coming down the lake, not much spawning habitat. Got a big creek coming in. You're coming down the lake, and then bam, we've got this big inside bend. Things flatten out, and you've got some more spawning habitat in this section of the lake. So that's going to be the area of the lake I want to start. So not much variance in water. So talking to Ott there, and and looking at this lake, I would like to start in an area where I've got the most habitat, the most things that I can run around and look at in a short amount of time. And I really like this next bend that comes down. I don't really know the name of it, but I've got all these islands right out here. Water going, can flow through that right there. Gonna be neat. I mean, to me, that would be an area here in Oklahoma in a normal lake where I'd start. If you had consistent water temperatures, with that water being colder, do they get out there? I don't know. There's grass out there. This darker green here, that's all grass. That's going to be some areas that I think fish would be. But if you had to get out of the current, you just jump right over here, and you can go in these pockets, and they're liable to be 5-10 degrees warmer once you get out of the current. So somewhere in that stretch between current and no current is going to be a bunch of fish, you know, and you can see back here in these pockets as they flatten out, you got grass. It's going to be a great place to go back there and throw a chopo, throw a buzzbait, throw a buzzing toad, something like that time of the year that you can cover water. You know, as it gets colder, it's going to be more of a spinnerbait, a flat-sided crankbait, a lipless crankbait. I'm going to cover water, and I'm going to just buzz around these banks right here, and this pocket in particular I really like. It's just close to the river channel, yet it's out of the current. I've got another one right here. It's got a really narrow opening. It's cool in that narrow opening. Water's going to flush in and out of that as those current changes change at the dams, because you have a little bit bigger body of water back here. It's going to be some steep banks. That's a cool spot to start. I would have to start on one of these banks and fish my way back to that. Like, that is a #1 place to start for me. These pockets over here is obviously another one. Let's just look out and try to find a couple more spots, and then we'll move to the next lake. Back up here, up the lake, we touched on it just for a split second earlier. It's kind of where I was starting to look, but man, you've got some other bigger pockets and a real narrow opening right here. I love this. So you got, I don't know that you can get in there. It dead ends on me, I feel like. I don't know that you can get in there. It doesn't really show a good photo, but man, if you could get through there, or even if you couldn't, that culvert right there, absolutely a #1 place to start, because you know water is going to go through there. You know, rainwater, variations in fluctuation of drawing the water down, moving the water. You know, a place like that is, anywhere we go across the country, that culvert right there is going to be a great place to start. And nonetheless, you know, that's like a little hatchery back there. You know, those fish can spawn. Looks like it's got grass. I like this area right here a lot. Cool creek. It's probably one of the bigger creeks on this upper end, so thus it's going to also have a lot of fish in it. That is a place for me to start. Somewhere in that bay of water right there is going to be really good. Let me show it to you over here on my sea map. You can see it's just got a narrow opening. You know, that opening could be good. And then this whole pocket, and then according to my sea map, they don't connect, as if a boat is going to go through there. But water could definitely flow through that road right there, and I love that as a place to start. All right, so the next lake, guys, a lake that you guys sent in is Lake Buchanan, all the way down in Texas. You know, when I look at this lake, man, I'm just amazed at how much this thing fluctuates. So, you know, looking here at this photo here on the computer, it looks like it's 20 feet low. You know, when I come over here to my sea map, it looks like a pretty flat lake to me, and just amazing, just the contour lines, and just, wow, cool looking lake. You know, so the lake, when I look up the lake level right now, it's almost back up to full. So to me, you're going to have lots of flooded cover. A lake that I feel like you got to cover a lot of water, cover it really quickly. Put on a buzzbait, put on a chopo, put on a vibrating jig, and just bam, just cover water until you find them, because I feel like you're going to have a lot of flooded, shallow cover. It's a cool lake, but let's break it down and where I would start. You know, on any lake that I've never been to, I like to start in that midsection of the lake where I feel like that river and that lake water kind of meet, you know. So if I was to zoom in over here, you know, here's the river, the Colorado River coming in. It comes around this big point, and then it comes in here, you know, and that's a low water photo. You know, a lot of this generally is underwater. All this out here on the tip of this thing is going to be underwater. But so let's just show you right quick what that looks like. That's with the lake full, so you can just see how different that lake looks. But I've marked a few things here. My experience in Texas, and you know, I've done really well there in Texas in the fall, this time of the year. You know, you either got grass or you got rocks, or you know, flooded cover in the sense of this lake. So you're going to have lots of flooded cover. But with me not being there and visually seeing that cover, you know, the other thing that I would have to look for is rocks. And you know, this photo, you know, this where you're able to really go back and look at how low lake levels are, look right here at these old rock piles. These are some old, I'm guessing, house foundations or a rock formation that goes across here, and you've got them in all depths. I mean, it's just cool looking. You know, this here is going to be shallow. That's going to be a little shallower. So when I put water on top of it, you can see those things are underwater. They're out here. To me, that just is like, man, what a great place to start. So if you guys go back and you watch a previous video I did a couple years ago, you put your cursor right on this rock pile, and you make a file and you save your waypoints. You guys can, I got a whole video teaching you how to do that and then transfer them over to your unit. In a lake like this, I could put hundreds of waypoints because there's so many different little spots like this throughout the lake. Cool lake. I mean, really, really cool. I mean, look at these rock piles out here off the tips of these points. I don't know that the fish are going to be out that deep. I feel like that stuff right there is 20, 25 feet deep from this current level, but they could be on those isolated rocks right here, you know, or somewhere up here on this point when you look at that, because that stuff's a lot shallower to me. Like this point right here runs way out. So these out here might be, let's see, if I zoom that out a little bit, you know, that's going to be 5 feet. I can fish them on out to 10 feet, on out to 15 feet. You know, so you're going to be able to fish that really quick, that one point as a place to start, and figure out what depth they're in, you know. And I love that because it's a big main lake point. It's going to catch a lot of wind either direction that it's blowing. Great place for your square bill, your top water, whatever that may be. But man, when you guys go around this lake, there is a lot of that. And I say a lot, you know, when you look at this, it's just 90% of it sand and clay. And that's why I pick out those rocks, because it is something completely different than everything else out there. You know, this right here looks really good to me. It's just a hard ridge that runs out here. It's going to be like 10, 12 feet deep. It's going to have some isolated trees on it, but you can see that's all rock right there. And when you fill that up, man, there's water over it, but it's going to be a spot you could go hit with your square bill or go throw a Carolina rig over, you know, or something like that. So I found a couple areas that like really a fine tune, a 1 or 2 cast deal I wanted to show you. It looks like you got an old pond dam right there. Let's come down this direction. Really cool area right there. Not on a point, off the side of a point, and it's going to get overlooked other than somebody that would have studied this aerial imagery, but you've got a really hard area out there that amongst all that other stuff that could be a really good spot. You know, that's probably more of a June deal or a spawn type deal if the water's a little lower, but a cool spot right there off the side of a point. Coming around it, looking at it here, I found a couple things I wanted to show you. Let me get to it. Oh, right here. A couple more rock piles out here, just isolated big rocks. I just think, man, that looks awesome. Look at this one right here. Right there, this ditch comes in. It's going to have a sharp drop off. How could you not catch one right there? You have to be able to catch one right there. Just super, super cool, but it's still not the spot that I thought. There's one of them over here that I'm like, whoa, it looks really good. I like this one because it's a shallower rock point. Super flat, shallow rock point. If I go back and I fill that up with water, you know, it's pretty. You're not going to see that, you know, but it's just a shallow rock point. Looks like you might have an isolated tree or two on it. I'd have to flip those trees. You got one there, you got one there. I like that spot a lot right there. But that's still not the one I really want to show you. Rock Ridge way out here offshore, pretty cool. Man, you could catch some fish offshore on this place. You know, I feel like in June, July, you know, I feel like this is a November video. I feel like things are going to be shallower. And this could be a June spot here, but what's really cool about this is it looks like to me it's an old pond that you have right here. And then you've got some sort of rock, I don't know what that is, a rock fence, a rock dam, just a cool little spot. And when you fill it up, it also looks like you got an isolated set of trees right there off the end of it. Another isolated set of trees right there. Man, I'd have to go through that and throw, like, you know, when I get to those isolated trees, so many times people want to flip them. And yes, that's a great thing to do, but this time of year, those fish are up in the water column. So I'm going to throw a vibrating jig, I'm going to throw a spinner bait, maybe a top water over the top of that isolated trees. Focus on those ones that are leaning, but remember that they really get high in the water column. They'll be a foot, 2 foot, 3 foot down, or 5 foot on that stuff that's over 10, 15, 20 feet. I like that kind of stuff. So, man, I know that's pretty quick on Buchanan, but golly, you could just spend an eternity studying these aerial photos and all those different little rock changes, you know, isolated brush, pond dams, roads. I've seen some cool stuff on this lake, seen them, all kinds of stuff that you could go mark and just have a heyday fishing those throughout the day. So those are some great places to start on that lake. I like that midsection. I like that left-hand side. You know, when I looked over at the right-hand side, things are a lot steeper, and if I wasn't getting bites after the first 4 or 5 hours, I would have to come over here to this deep pocket. And the only reason I say that is when you have a lake that goes up and down so much, some of that stuff that's a little bit steeper bank, they're going to have a little bit better success spawning, you know, they just will, like for whatever reason, the water doesn't get pulled off of them near as fast. So these steeper banks back in these pockets, those fish could have had a better success rate spawning, you know, if they happen to pull the water off of them, and that's where maybe the population is. So if all this flat stuff over here wasn't panning out, I would have to move over here to this really steeped bank, couple creeks, and try some of those points and boat docks and some of that stuff in that area. All right, the last lake I have on our agenda is a doozy, a monster, a favorite of mine, Bull Shoals. A little bit about Bull Shoals. Man, it's kind of like, of the White River chain, it's the one they destroy. And when I say destroy, they will flood this lake 30 feet, 20 feet. Like, it's just, they flood this lake nonstop. Like, but they have to. That's what they built it for. Thus, this lake has a lot of water goes through it. It has a lot of holding capacity. You know, all throughout the year, that thing will be flooded way up in the trees. And I think this was one of those years they did it to it again. But looking online, it is back down. It's normal. It's a fun lake to fish. So with it being normal, with it being back down, I would assume their generation schedule is more scheduled. You know, they're probably generating daylight to dark. Probably got it off at night, I would guess. A lot of times they do all that because, you know, that White River below there is a big time trout fishery and guides and all the economic stuff that goes with that. There's going to be a pattern of where to start on those main lake pockets, those main lake points, those main lake bluff ends. Like that, like that's the greatest thing about these lakes in the Ozarks. They're just so pattern oriented. You can just figure the bite out and, man, just go to town. So when you look at Bull Shoals, though, that's the deal. Like if I was somebody like Edwin, but look at this thing, it's like so huge. Where do we start? So you've just got to pick a section of it. And, you know, the gentleman that sent in the lake, I should have researched a little bit more and try to figure out what part of that lake he lives, because, heck, I think this lake's probably 60, 70 miles long. Like, it's just, you can't fish from one end to the other, and you're bypassing every mile you're driving over fish. So if I had to pick a section of where to start, for me, it'd be that Lead Hill area, because it's got two big creeks. It's got lots of spawning habitat. The pockets off to the side, you know, it's just historically very, very good. But that's not just the only place they live. I guess I'm saying all this. Pick a section and break that section down. Wherever it is on this lake, these things that I'm fixing to tell you, you can use from top to bottom. So I'm going to get outside of my comfort zone. I know that area up there. I'm going to come down the lake, and let's get in the midsection of the lake, and let's just pick an area to start in this midsection. And when I look at it, you know, you've got this big, I forget the name of it, you got a big major creek that comes in from Missouri. It splits, comes into the main river right here, I would pick this as the next best place to start. One, you know, this could have some color in it, this big creek that comes in from the north. I've got more spawning habitat, lots of pockets, lots of bends, just all kinds of stuff, you know, like you just got to break it down. Like you got to say, okay, I'm going to go right here and start. So I'm going to take this section right here. It's awesome. It looks to me, I got two big arms that come in, and I've got some great inside bends. So when you get to these Ozark lakes, you can see here, I've got just super deep water to super shallow water. Like they will spawn, they will feed, they will do everything. Like it all happens, like just so much happens around these inside bends. You got a spawning pocket when you come all the way around. You go a little further and you've got another inside bend. You've got points. I love all this stuff right here. And then you take it a step further, you got a south wind. A south wind's gonna blow into the backs of these flat pockets right here. A lake like this is all about covering water. It's all about getting a couple bites. So, you know, you're gonna have a pattern of fish in the backs of pockets. You're gonna, in the back third of pockets, you know, throwing that chopo, throwing that buzzbait. You're gonna have a pattern when you pull right out here on these bluff ends of burning a spinnerbait, throwing that chopo, that topwater out there, drop shotting out off that stuff, you know, throwing a square bill crankbait. And then you're gonna have a pattern just a little bit further out here on this deeper stuff, 15 to 35, drop shotting or throwing a football jig. You know, the smallmouth population there is really strong. A lot of times those largemouth spotted bass will be outside of those smallmouth. This time of year, those smallmouth will be up in like, I'm gonna say 12 to 20 on a football jig, and then you come out a little deeper and you start catching spotted bass and largemouth. So that's how I would break that down. So just to take it a step further, look at it on this aerial photo right here. Just real quick, see what these look like from the aerial photo. So, you know, that's the state line right there. Lots of stuff right here to fish, guys. So many different things that you can fish right here really, really quick. So, you know, I would say that photo there, the water's a little high. That photo there's a little low. That photo's a lot low maybe. That's probably normal because they've had such high water, they killed so many trees. There's so much bank showing, but you know, so this is a prime example of a bluff end. You got this big bluff that comes down, it ends, it transitions from ledge to chunk to pea gravel. Always a great place to start. So that one right there, I need an east type of wind. Any place you start, I want some wind blowing on it or wind from the day before. So if you don't have an east wind, you know, on that bluff end, you just gotta run around that lake and everywhere you want to fish, like right here. So I feel like this bluff end, southwest wind, something like what we're having today, that's where I'm gonna fish. And I will run that the rest of the day. Like always stay in the wind when you're out there on that main lake stuff. And I feel like, you know, with that water generating, there is definitely going to be a main lake bluff end bite on this place. So it's just simple, guys. Just fish as many of them as you can. I like this one right here a lot. It's kind of a weird photo because of the clouds. Let me see if I can find one without the clouds. Super cool. It's a very unique spot. Super deep bluff, and then it flattens out. Like, that's a cool spot right there. I like that one a lot. It's just kind of an inside turn. It's going to have a lot of wind on it in every direction because, you know, you can have a south wind going up, you can have a north wind coming down. That to me would be a great place to start, you know, for a main lake deal. Now, if I was trying to show you guys something on this map, the back of a pocket, what to look for, I like the backs of these pockets right here. A lot of south wind, you know, that we get this time of year could be blowing in there. Same thing in here, could be piping in. I actually got some docks back here. I think docks are really, really strong on this lake year round. You just don't have a lot of them to begin with, and it just provides a tremendous amount of shade and cover. Cool pocket right there for you to go back and fish. There's so many things right there in that little 3-mile section of different habitat that I can fish. And I'm also in that section there, I'm where the water's mixing. I'm gonna have, you know, some stained water coming out of those creeks in Missouri, meeting that fresh water. It necks down right here, you know, on this bluff end. That's why I picked it, you know, water pulling through. Same thing on that point right there, just below the state line. Got a saddle. If the water's up a little bit, you're gonna have a really cool saddle. We talk about that a lot on this series here of where to start. So guys, those are my thoughts on Bull Shoals. I hope that helps helps you. I hope these videos help you. You know, it may not be the lake you're on, but I promise you, I think some of these lakes can relate to where you're going. Big thanks to Ott DeFoe. If you get a chance, check out his channels. He's got some great ones. Also, me and Ott and Andy have a great channel over there called After the Cast. It's just kind of everything we do behind the scenes, you know, tournament fishing. We do some other fun one-off, one-of-one stuff and all kinds of stuff over there on that crazy channel. But it's a lot of fun if you're curious what life on the road's like, you know, as a traveling professional. So it's that time of year, guys. We've been harvesting pecans. The store has opened. If you need fresh pecans, if you need candied pecans, I've got some of the best pecans for you. They don't get any fresher, guys. We just got them off the trees. I love the orchard. I love working out there. I love bass fishing, but it just kind of gets me away from fishing for a little bit to go out there and get to harvest these pecans. So corporate gifts, guys, we can take care of any gifting that you need for any of the employees that you want to say thank you to or customers. Give us a chance to get your business over there. We love what we do. We have a lot of fun with it, and it's a really great product. So check it out over there, Edwin Evers Pecans, if you haven't. All right, let's get to the winner. I need to do that before I forget. I'm getting lots of sidetracks here. So the winner, we randomly go down through here, and we have picked a winner. And this month's winner, TN Bass Hunter, longtime supporter, first-time commenter. I'd love to see where to start. Melton Hill Lake. You're the winner, buddy, just for sending that lake in. It was a lot of fun. We got Ott on the phone, so all I need from you is an email on my website. So if you just go to edwinevers.com, fill that little form out, send me an email. I'm going to send you a battery certificate. I will never contact anybody else, guys. Stay away from that spam. We don't want any of that. I'm not contacting you. You contact me, and I appreciate that comment. I appreciate all the followers. Guys, all I ask is just hit that like button, man. That's just a big help for the channel. Until next week, man, good fishing, good luck. I hope these tips help, and we'll see you next week.